Okay. I'm seeing that we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Long time no see. I'm so excited. Well, actually, and maybe no time no see based on this new group of families that we have joining us. So I thought that Susie and I should definitely start by introducing ourselves. So welcome. Somebody throw in the chat just a quick hello and that you've seen us and that we're live and we're all good there. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Lindsay Barnes. I'm the Director of Student Transitions at the College of New Jersey. So I work exclusively with all of our new families that are coming in, right? So I plan orientation and welcome week and all of the marketing and communications that are really targeted specifically for new families that we have that are starting at TCNJ. So that's, thanks, Linda. Appreciate you. Oh, and Sandy, you too. Thank you. So that's a little bit about what I do. So I'm housed within the Division of Student Affairs. And again, marketing, communications, events, anything pertaining to kind of helping our new students and their families get to TCNJ, start their first semester, and get off on the right foot. So that's a little bit about me and Susie.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Susie Orecchio. I'm the Director of Administration and Operations for Student Affairs, and I'm also the Coordinator of Parent and Family Programs. So Lindsay and I know for those of you who are first year incoming parents or family members, I know that Lindsay has been offering these chats. So, Lindsay's going to talk a little bit about kind of where those stemmed from, but thought this was a really just awesome partnership that we could do together to open up these chats to the broader parent and family community. So, yeah, I'll have Lindsay give some background and then, we'll kind of go on with what we're going to chat about tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Susie. So last year, and actually I do have some echo, so why don't you put yourself on mute and then I'll mute myself when you're chatting too, because I feel the back. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So I started these chats last summer out of necessity, right? If any of you are my class of 2024 parents, we were not doing any events in person. There was, everything was changing constantly, daily, if not hourly. And I really felt that we needed a mechanism to keep in touch with you. I started this role a couple of years ago and I was really big on like, I don't want to talk to the parents. I want to talk to the students. They have to this is their journey. They have to start taking ownership of it. And it was a bit misguided and naive because as I have grown into the role over the past few years, I've really come to understand that you play such a vital part in supporting them throughout the entire journey. So we wanted to find a way to communicate with you and to open up an opportunity to just share information and to be as transparent as possible about the process. So I started these caffeine chats in the summer of 2020 in the height of the, couple of months into the pandemic. And I was blown away at how popular they were and how people just kept coming out and they were just so grateful for the information, just the opportunity to connect. And I named them the caffeine chats because they were always Sunday nights. They were always at 8:00. And I was, I had a huge cup of tea, right? I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm a tea drinker. And I would have a different mug depending on the day. And there was so much to do. And it was just so crazy that I was drinking full-blown caffeine at 8:00 at night because there was a lot to do. So they were really helpful. And I did a couple throughout last year, just at critical points kind of in the process throughout the virtual learning. And we did have some students that moved onto campus last spring. But then I continued them for the summer for this year. So my class of 2025 families and also my transfer students as well. I want to acknowledge that we might have some families there joining us tonight who had students transfer in, but students that were kind of new for this fall 2021 semester. So I started and I continued those, the caffeine chats this summer, but I did switch to decaf. And some Sunday nights I wasn't having, so I had some nights I had decaf and then other nights I couldn't have any because I wanted to go to bed afterwards. And I was finding that even a little bit of caffeine at 8:00, I'd be up till like 11 o'clock or midnight. So sometimes I would sneak in ice cream in my mug and I would show that off. So we kept the name, right? And we're just calling them caffeine chats now, but Susie and I got together over the summer. So all this to say, Susie and I got together over the summer and we said, hey, what do you think? I think it would be a really cool idea to continue these and to do a couple into the fall semester, right? Because it's not like the second that the first day of classes start, your students magically ready to go and they're starting this semester, or that there's other questions that pop up. And it just could be a really cool vehicle for us to continue to communicate. And it shouldn't be for just the new families, right? So we have all these sophomore families where their students are probably on campus or at least attending in person for the first time. And then the juniors and the seniors, I mean, who knows? Who knows? There could have all sorts of different questions that you might have as well, or maybe your student's in a different position now and this information could be helpful. So I said, hey, I think we should do this. And Susie, thankfully, was like, yes, let's go. So here we are. So this is the first one. So welcome. So again, we could have families that your students are first year, sophomore, junior, senior level. We did. Thank you for everybody who registered. Thank you for submitting questions. So what we did was we blocked off 4 dates, and we were really kind of intentional about thinking, okay, what kind of information do we think is helpful for them to share with them at this point in the semester, right? And so we have a couple more, and at the end we'll kind of highlight, who's coming on in terms of special guests for the rest of the semester. But for this one, we just wanted to do a really quick touch base. I was like, we need to get like a little FAQ out there, submit a question out there, because we don't know, we've never hosted this before. Like, what kind of questions do you have 2 to 3 weeks into the semester? And I think that one of the big things that we wanted to talk about tonight, and I'm gonna take the lead and start off here, is just talking about programming and events that are taking place in the first kind of 6 to 8 weeks. We know that's a really critical time, regardless of whether your student's a first year student or whether they're kind of back into the swing of things, and this semester being so different because we've been virtual, at least academically, for 1.5 years now, before we came in. So I'm going to tackle some tips and some little, just a little couple things that my office is kind of spearheading. And then I'm going to turn it over to Susie, and Susie's going to talk a little bit about parent and family programs in general at TCNJ. And that's really helpful regardless of whether you're a new student and a new family, or whether, you're here, you're just not as familiar. And then she's going to answer some questions about Parent Family Day, which is coming up on the 2nd of October in just a couple of weeks. And then at the end, we'll finish up by talking to you about the next 3 that are coming down the pike and the special guests that we have. So hopefully, let me go back to my agenda and make sure I covered everything there. Susie, did I miss anything before I get started with the programming piece and some of the pieces for me?
No, the only thing I wanted to touch on is when we were talking about kind of what led you to start these caffeine chats. For those of you who might have been on our parent and family email list, existing parents and families, we started increasing our communication significantly during the time of COVID, and so really kind of saw the benefit of that with sharing these campus communications that were going out, specific to all the changes that were happening. So certainly, like what Lindsay was saying, once we started doing that, we really started finding the benefit of kind of having that increased communication. So just another tidbit of what, because typically in the past we had done those for parent family newsletters, which I'll touch on when we switch over to me after Lindsay kind of goes over a few things. And that was really most of what our communication was, other than the website and then the touch points with orientation and those kinds of things. But we've just found kind of that increasing that communication and sharing these larger updates, campus-wide updates with our parent family email list has just been really great with sharing that information, keeping people informed with kind of everything that's going on. So that was just the only thing that I wanted to add. But Lindsay, I'll let you talk about some of the programming and all of that you wanted to touch on.
Okay, perfect. Yep. Thanks, Susie. And then the other thing too, so even though I have the whole kind of list of most of the questions that were submitted, but I will be watching the chat. I can't do both at once, so I'll peek and I'll try to answer in between, but I'll go back and take a look, but as Susie's covering her part. But if you do have any questions that you want to submit into the chat, go ahead and throw them in there. You do have to be logged into your Gmail in order to do it for you too, but please feel free to do so and go ahead and do that. So, right. So as I was saying, I just wanted to touch a little bit on some events and some programming that's coming up. So I know in particular with my sophomore families, there was a big, class of 2024, there was a big, okay, well, what are we kind of doing, just to help the students, right? And as I was telling them, I had a separate chat with them a few weeks ago before Welcome Week. And my comment to them was, all of campus, really kind of all of my colleagues in various student support offices across our institution very much recognized, and this was going back to the summer as we were preparing for the fall semester, that we kind of really are looking at this as having 2 classes of students that are coming in, right? So we have our first years and our brand new transfer students, but we also have this huge group of sophomores and transfer students from last fall who have not done class in person on campus, and most of whom probably didn't live on campus if that was a resident, if they wanted to. And, how are we supporting those students? Well, we're supporting everybody in the same way that we always do, but I think it's really important to just recognize a couple of these events that are coming up and a couple of key tips for you. So if your student's falling into this boat, and again, this probably is more so for my younger families, but could be totally applicable for my juniors and seniors if your student hasn't gotten a chance to connect, or if they're concerned or they, need to know about resources with where to go. So I think the most important thing, first and foremost, in terms of staying connected with campus and having an idea of what is going on, is for your student to follow This Week at TCNJ. So for the new students, for the past 2 or 3 years, I would send out a weekly newsletter that had all of the events that were taking place on campus that I knew of, right? So I would always reach out to my colleagues and I would say, hey, what kind of workshops are you hosting? What info sessions are you hosting? What drop-in hours are you hosting? Because they're all the experts and they're doing all this great programming across campus, but nobody was communicating it and marketing it to the new students in a way that I thought was really necessary. So what we did was I created this kind of, email that went out to the new students for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the semester. And then sometime during the pandemic, somebody else took it over. And I was really happy to see that because I was not having the time to do it in the way that I wanted to. But they took it over because, one, we really thought all of campus needs this, right? It's not just a new student thing. That's important too, because they're not as connected to the institution yet. But really, even if we have upper class students that aren't connected, that want to have an idea about going on, there's not like a central place for all that to happen. So we started this thing this week at TCNJ. It is a newsletter, so it does go out to your students' TCNJ email address, but it also is on Instagram. And I think that Instagram is really the spot to be. So if your student's on there, it is easily the quickest way to find out what's going on campus. Even as a staff member myself, I go to Instagram to see what's going on. Right? Susie, I know that your side projects with Press Pause and some of the things that you're working on. My info sessions coming up, so a perfect example. And it's not just events. So there's clubs and organizations that host events that are going to be promoted through This Week at TCNJ. There's academic seminars and sessions that get promoted through This Week at TCNJ. So it's not just like a student affairs, student involvement piece with what's going on campus, but there are also academic lectures and symposiums and all those type, when we bring guest speakers to campus, all those pieces, as long as people are letting the folks know, and that's happening more and more now that we're back on campus, it's getting promoted. And the other thing is just employment opportunities, right? So I know that for me, I have a bunch of info sessions that are coming up in October. I'm one of the largest student employers on campus. I hire usually about 70 students to fill my orientation leader positions. Those are the students that worked with your students in the past couple of years to work on orientation and welcome week. I'm going to be promoting those info sessions through there, right? So if your student's not following This Week at TCNJ on Instagram, and I'll just throw it into the chat real quick, that is an incredibly This Week at TCNJ, very simple to find. It's just at This Week at TCNJ on Instagram. It is one of the best ways that they can start to get connected for learning about workshops, understanding what's going on campus, registering for events, those types of pieces. And I think that's one of the most important things that your student can be doing if they're not doing that already. And the goal, and again, we're not going to go, grab their hands and bring them to stuff, right? Oh, this is the part of college. They have to kind of get out there and take that first step and put themselves out there and go to some of these things. But that's a really fantastic way of learning about that. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about there. Then what I did this year in particular was, so we overprogram a lot here at TCNJ. That's a really common theme, right? On any given day, you've got probably multiple things that are going on that you can choose to go to. So when I thought about how can I best support students, the new students and the sophomores in particular, to be coming back from this virtual life to in-person classes, where are the gaps? So that's really what I looked at. So I reached out across campus and I said, okay, who's doing what in the way of workshops and seminars for the students? And are there gaps in topics that I think, it would be really cool to do that and be able to offer it to the new students through my umbrella as Office of Student Transition. So technically I'm kind of done, I got my baton is passed and they're off and they're running, and people way smarter than me in other areas across campus are helping support them in that way, be it tutoring, be it, Center for Student Success work, be it academics, be it social or otherwise. And I said, okay, so where are we finding some pieces? So we do, so I am hosting a series of events this fall. They're going to be every Wednesday for 6 weeks from 10:30 to 11:30. And again, don't panic about writing all this down. I will be creating a lovely social media flyer that will be going on my Instagram account, but through This Week at TCNJ for your student. But essentially 10:30 to 11:30 on Wednesday mornings, there's never class. We have a weird thing at TCNJ where we don't do class necessarily with some exceptions, but most people are not in class on most of the day on Wednesday until the evening. So 10:30 to 11:30, and it's going to kind of have some different types of events. And those are going to start on the 22nd. The reason they're not starting this week on the 15th is that our Community Learning Day, which is a campus-wide learning teach-in kind of day for our students on campus, they asked us not to plan events on the 15th. So not on the 15th, but starting on the 22nd, 10:30 to 11:30 every week for 6 weeks. And there's going to be different types of topics. So I'll share with you what I definitely have confirmed. We're still putting the finishing touches on some of them, but here were kind of some of the gaps that I identified in our programming. So I think the first was, and this isn't a gap, but this is just because I think it's really important that we're talking about this. I really wanted to partner with our mental health services folks, both the peer educators, so the current students that act as peer educators with the mental health services office, as well as our obviously licensed and professional counselors, to say, okay, what kind of events are you doing, and how can we partner up to do one or two that really kind of bring to light really supporting our students in a really genuine way. So the first one's going to be on the 22nd, and it's actually a bit later in the afternoon. It's like a 1:30 to 3 type of thing, and we're calling it tentatively right now friends speed dating, I think is what we're calling it. So here's the logic behind that. Not everybody makes their best friend at Welcome Week, right? I think there's a lot of myths for my new students. They have to find their people in the first week of the semester and during Welcome Week, and otherwise, they're totally screwed for the rest of college. I told everybody, all the students that I met over the last couple of weeks, and I say this every year, I did not find my people until the spring semester of my sophomore year. Right? I was a late bloomer in college. I floated around. I would make friends with a couple people, realize, don't really like you, your values don't line up with me, not too much. And then I'd float around and I'd see another group of people, and I was just trying to carve out my niche, right? Which every student in college is trying to figure out. But it took me a while. And if you're a parent on the phone or on the Zoom right now, not Zoom, but on our little session right now, chat, who has a sophomore or a junior who's in that boat, it's not just the first years, right? It could be anybody at any point to the college process where you're just kind of I just haven't really kind of found my niche. So we're going to do some mini speed dating. They're going to play some games. They're going to rotate tables, but it's a really great opportunity because a couple weeks into the semester, you may have thought that you had found your people, and that's not the case yet. Or maybe you just want to try to totally find some new people. You found a few that you like, but you really kind of want to branch out a little bit. So we're doing one that's focused still on making friends. And that's not something that we normally have done, but we thought might be more important this year. So that's one that's coming up on the 22nd. The other one we're partnering with Mental Health Services is going to take place on Wednesday, October 6th. The timing's a little different on that one as well, but that is our I'm going to botch this. We're observing World Mental Health Day, I think. So we're doing some type of arts and crafts activity and just kind of spreading some positivity and making connections and really just hopefully providing an opportunity for students to connect with MHS, which is Mental Health Services on campus. So those two events we're doing, and we thought that would be really neat. And that was a big priority for me, just knowing how challenging that college is in general, but also this transition back to in-person is. The other one that we're partnering with, and this is something that we just have to finalize the date, is the Center for Student Success. So they do amazing workshops over there. And I don't know, they had a huge turnout for the first one, but which was just College 101. It was last week. It was a general kind of introduction that was geared more towards new students. They actually had that on Zoom, and I think they recorded it. So if you were to go to their website, you might be able to see a little bit more. But they're doing one specifically on time management. And that's next week, but we're actually going to repeat it and beef it up a little bit for the sessions that I'm hosting. And the reason for that is that even my students from sophomore year and junior year, right? So your upper class students who are not new to college, they've taken even my transfers, right? You're not new to college, you've taken college credit, you kind of get that, how that works. But now all of a sudden, instead of being virtual and managing your time, you're in person. And it's very different. And we know that we have students who are going to struggle with getting involved and potentially taking on too much, not knowing how to say no. It's very big. I tell people all the time, what do you say no to, right? Because it's okay to say no for things. But balancing the academics now with a much more social schedule, that can present some challenges too for our students. And we think that could be something that would be popping up. So another example of a way that we're partnering with kind of the experts on campus, but to making this information really available to students and really authentic so they can connect with others and learn how to balance it. Right, because that's the key for the fall semester, is just trying to find some balance there. So those are three, and then the other one that I'm super excited about that I'm meeting with the School of Arts and Com tomorrow to flush out a date and to figure out the details. Is there's so many students who have passions, right? We know, and I know a lot, I love studying generations, right? And I know I love reading articles about Gen X and what they like and or Gen Z, I'm sorry, and what they like and what they don't like. And they're really big on side hustles, and they have these passion projects. And so many times I will run into students who have just a thirst and a love for music or art or, any one of the, kind of creative pursuits that you could think of, right? And they don't realize that they can make a minor out of it, right? You don't have to cast aside, the option of doing something that you love that brings you so much joy, just because you're kind of over here and you're studying to do X, Y, and Z. And the beauty about TCNJ, and hopefully the reason that your students, chose us and they're thriving here, is because you really get to craft a unique undergraduate experience. And I feel like so many of our students don't have to they don't have to sacrifice that joy or that creative pursuit that they have. They can find a way to complement that, their degree, and still be able to do this on the side. So I thought it would be really cool to do like a panel and to touch base with the Arts and Com School in particular, but there could be some others. So we're really excited about that one. And then I think another big one is mentoring, right? So, how do you start to build have a good foundation and start to build a strong foundation with not only just maybe your academic advisor, right, in your academic school, but also staff, right? I am a mentor all the time to people, and it just kind of happens very organically. But your student, the hope here is that they're going, let's give them some tools so that they can go out there and feel really empowered to how are they building their network? How are they building their core people who are going to support them as mentors throughout the course of their time here at TCNJ, that are complementing, obviously, you all being a support system as the parents and the families that are supporting them, from home. So those are kind of some of the topics that we identified. I always do one in late October for how to register for classes, right? So we did all the registration ahead of time for our new students that are coming in over the summer, but our pause system is a little clunky, not always the most user-friendly. And we really like to do a session that involves just kind of helping them step by step figure out how to go in when it's their time to register for the spring. We do that in late October because our registration process takes place in the beginning of November. So all this to say that really my goal was, where are there some gaps? Where are there some things? Who can we partner with? Where are there some things that we can just add some extra events and some extra programs to just really enhance and support students that might be struggling at different points, in this first semester, because there's a lot going on. So more to come. They will find it if they follow Instagram at This Week at TCNJ. They can obviously also follow Student Transitions, but we're not nearly as cool, and there's way more other cool stuff that are going on. Apparently, we're getting Colin Yost from Saturday Night Live. Yes, I know. I found this out on This Week at TCNJ. He is coming. He's like the comedy act for the fall semester that our programming board, the College Union Board, our student programming board, I should say, is bringing. And I am like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So all sorts of cool things heading on there. But yeah, so hopefully that was helpful to kind of give you a preview of some of the things to come, at least from my office. But really, it's up to your student. And there are so many people across campus that are willing to help. They're experts in what they do. And it's really just a matter of your student kind of taking that first step and reaching out. And I guarantee you, reach out, they're going to have somebody get back to them pretty quickly on that. So that was the stuff that I wanted to cover, at least for my area tonight. Susie, how about we do your stuff next, and then we can circle back and tackle the questions that were submitted ahead of time, and I'll check the chat while you're chatting.
That sounds perfect. Thanks, Lindsay. Okay, so I wanted to take some time just to kind of walk through a little bit with our website and the resources that we have on there, and kind of walk you through some of that. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. Lindsay, can you see my screen okay? And assuming that everyone else can too.
Yep, we've got you. You're good to go.
Perfect. Okay. So for those who might not know, this is our parent and family website. So it's just parents.tcnj.edu. And so here's a kind of a jump to some COVID-19 resources for parents and families. A lot of the things that we're pulling are pulled off of the fall 2021 website. So that's something that we would definitely recommend exploring if you have questions. So we have some other links here too. So feel free to explore this. and definitely recommend exploring the 2021 website. So also, most of you should be on our email list, which is what you would have received our parent family newsletter, which had contained these caffeine chats. If for some reason you're not, or you want to sign another family member up, you can just scroll right down on our main page and hit subscribe. This would be for our parent family newsletter, but this is also where we pull the emails for any of those campus-wide updates related to COVID-19. So would recommend signing up for that. We just recently sent out a newsletter. It will make it on the website this week, but that was the one for September 2021. So normally you would be able to find them all in this newsletters tab. If you wanted to explore any past editions, you can find them all here. And just some of them have some great information highlighting different offices and departments and things of that nature. So I want to show you a little bit about our Get Connected tab. So this kind of just centralizes some of the ways that you can connect with us at TCNJ, both in the Office of the Vice President for Student Affairs, as well as Parent Family Programs. Again, this is the same email list as on the main page. We have a Parent Family Resources Facebook page. So I'm going to be completely transparent. That one has been a little bit slower over the past year. We struggled a little bit with some turnover with our student. We have what's called college enhancement interns at the college. Really great opportunity when Lindsay's talking about employment opportunities on campus. Would highly recommend. The cycle is passed for this year, but for those who will have students at TCNJ next year, college enhancement interns is just such an incredible opportunity. Would highly recommend your students apply for those. It's interns that work within offices within the college, and it has a variety of different responsibilities and kind of experiences. So ours is focused on social media, website management, helping with our parent family newsletter. So yeah, we had some over the COVID year and a half, had some transition and turnover with that position. So, but all that to say is that you should look to that Facebook page moving forward, because we do have a great student who's working with us now and kind of helping to have us make sure that some of the things are highlighted and getting kind of what I want to share out there on that page. So highly recommend following that page. Certainly more information is going to be shared there. Parent and Family Association Executive Board. This is we extended our applications for September 17th, if anyone had taken a peek over the summer, because I knew that we were having this caffeine chat. So I kind of wanted to just spend a moment talking about this opportunity. So our Parent Family Association Executive Board, it's an application process, and we have about 15 to maybe 20 parents and family members of across all the class years, as well as alumni parents and family members. This is kind of a dual role. So primarily, it is a place where people could volunteer. So volunteering for our major events. For any of you who might have attended Acceptance Students Day, attended our parent-to-parent panel, those were all members of our Parent and Family Executive Board. So we have opportunities for volunteering for those type of events, panels, during orientation, during Parent and Family Day, and those kinds of things, really helping to engage and kind of guide some of the broader parent family community. But this is also a group where I might come with some questions, kind of do a little focus group, seeing what you all might think that our families might be looking for, things like that. So it's kind of that dual role, both volunteering, but also kind of as a resource and connection to the college. So I have that application there right on our Get Connected tab. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free. I have our contact information there, and happy to connect with you more on it if you are interested. So again, that's this coming Friday that deadlines are due. So just wanted to plug that. And then our general contacts there at the bottom. So, and if you want any more information under this About tab, we do have kind of our mission and goals, can give you a better idea of what our executive board is like, as well as our parent family programs mission and goals overall. So another tab I wanted to focus on was this transition to college tab. So for those of you who might be first-time college parents, or even just want to take a look of some resources out there, we have a variety of different articles that are posted on here that for a range of different topics. So feel free to explore that at your leisure and kind of just get some information there and see what some of those resources are saying out there. And Parent and Family Day. So I know we did have a question about that. The registration should be coming out at some point this week. And once that is shared, and that will go to our parent family email list. So once that's shared, it should have our tentative schedule for the day. So we're really, really excited for this. I know last year we had to cancel due with everything going on. But this Parent and Family Day is going to be occurring on the Saturday of Spirit Week. So that's going to also include our homecoming football game. There's a soccer game that's occurring that day as well. But we're going to also have just a variety of events that are happening. We've partnered with student government, who's got some really awesome things going on as well. So we're very excited for the day. And so as soon as registration opens up, we'll be able to share more and get that tentative schedule to you all. But kind of plan for, I'll say about 10 a.m.-ish for the kickoff event, and then kind of ranging into the soccer game starts at 6 o'clock. So there'll be kind of things happening throughout that time. But we're looking forward to seeing you all there. And we also have a couple of opportunities. So love this. We do a family photo slideshow that we have kind of rolling on the screens in the Broward Student Center, potentially at some other events that we might have going on. But you can send a photo of your family or a photo of your student, whatever you'd like to send, with a one sentence note. So we'll be kind of putting those together on the slideshow. So feel free to send that. It's a really just cute thing that we have going on during the day. So you can send that to the SA@tcnj.edu. Another opportunity that we have is that we've actually done for a few years now. I want to say it might even be 5 years. A family cookie recipe competition. So you're able to send your favorite family recipe. Specifically for this, we're doing cookies. And then the recipe will be made by our dining services team and featured in the atrium at ICOF on Parent Family Day. So, and kind of just get to meet the dining team as well, and kind of some other stuff that happens if you are selected as the winner. And then all cookies must be nut free. But that date for that, September 22nd, same email address to that SA@tcnj.edu. So those are a few things there. And also the schedule will be posted here once it goes out, but there should be a link that goes out with the registration. That should come at some point this week. So last thing that I just want to highlight is we just have some useful links at the bottom of our website, just to kind of help you navigate some things. Honestly, my cheat, if you're looking for anything, is literally to Google it. Just put TCNJ and then kind of the topic of whatever question you have, and you'll probably find something. And something that I always plug is that if you ever are just not sure where to go, or you feel like, you know what, I've tried looking for it, I'm not sure, I can't find the information, or you can just email SA@tcnj.edu. Again, it stands for Student Affairs. But that goes to our office. We're the Office of the Vice President for Student Affairs, and we can help point you in the right direction, connect you with a certain department that you need to speak with. It's can be kind of tricky navigating who to talk to for certain questions, like, no, that's this department or this department. So again, we want to be a resource and want to help you try to navigate that. So feel free to email us, again, sa@tcnj.edu, and we'll get you connected to the right person, the right people, or make sure that your student is getting connected with the right department. So I think that was the main things that I wanted to go over today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, or at least specific to the website.
Yeah, we had one question come in, Susie.
Yeah.
So for Parent Family Day, is there a limit to how many guests can come per student?
So at this time, there is not a limit. We are trying to be really intentional with our programming, with having a large amount occur outside. So that's the goal. So hopefully weather stands up. We've got rain backup plans, but that's the goal. And also the masks, at least for the current protocol, masks will be required indoors. So for the events that we do have indoors, we would be doing that, and just kind of be looking at our mask capacity. If there's things indoors, they may be kind of on a first come, first served basis, just to kind of be very mindful of spacing and kind of the safety with that. But yes, as of right now, no limits.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for that. And that segues really nicely into the list of questions that I have that were already submitted ahead of time. So one of those questions was about parents and if they would eventually be allowed in the residence halls with either a proof of vaccine or a negative test. So I don't know. The answer is I don't know. And what I wanted to share with you all is that obviously, this was the safest way to be able to get us back to as close to business as usual as possible, right? The goal is let's have your students be able to live on campus and go to class in person and participate in clubs and organizations and have the experience that makes TCNJ who TCNJ is. So to do that, we're not allowing, and again, I'll reiterate this, in terms of the guest policy, no off-campus folks, period. And that includes our upper class students who live off campus, our students who live in campus town. If you do not live in a residence hall building on campus and you are not a residential student, you're not allowed into the residence halls. That policy, right, is constantly being reevaluated based on guidance from the CDC and guidance from OSHE, which is the Office of the State of Higher Education for the state of New Jersey. So they will continually, as things progress here, take a look at that to see, do we still need to be keeping it at that? Does it need to go one way or direction? Hopefully not that way in the direction, hopefully the other way in the direction that would allow a little bit more flexibility. And that would be the hope. But, at this point, we're doing what we have to do just to make sure that we can still provide the experience that so many of your students are hopefully now enjoying on campus. So TBD, but just know that all of these policies, and same kind of goes for this mask policy too, we are constantly keeping up on guidance from the state, guidance from the federal government, and reevaluating to see if there needs to be changes that are made to those policies. So they are very temporary in that way, right? Because we'll tweak as we go here. So hopefully that answered the question for the parent who submitted that question. Before I keep going, Susie, we did have one more question come up from Sandy. Will there be any bands or live music performing at homecoming or during Parent Day?
Yes, so one of the events, and this is actually an event that we've had for multiple years during homecoming day, is main stage. So because these events are kind of combining together, we will be having main stage again this year. It is being headed up by student government this year, but main stage is they're both student and student primarily student organization performances. So those can range from dance to vocal, like a cappella groups, to the pep band and those kinds of things. So there should be a variety of performances happening that day during main stage. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, it's super fun. I brought my 8-year-old, well, he was at the time 6, to main stage 2 years ago for 2019. It's a fun event. So I'm looking forward to it again this year. Okay. Circle on a spec, circle back real quick. Somebody asked, is housing going to be a special guest? Yes, they are. And we're going to have housing. Tina Tormey, who's our director of residential education, and a dear friend of mine will be on the next Caffeine Chat. So we're going to do another one in 2 weeks. So that would be Sunday, September 26th, 8 to 9, same time as before, but she will be here. Most specifically, one, we share a lot of information for the new students over the summer that doesn't get kind of absorbed right away and is a really good refresher for some of our families that have upper class students who are returning. We're going to talk a little bit about the roles, right? Like what does a CA do versus what does a residence director, community advisor, right? So those are our RAs, we call them CAs, versus what do our residential directors do on campus. So kind of reminding everybody about the roles and kind of the processes, but really talking about things like roommate conflicts, right? Hopefully your student doesn't have one that has popped up yet, but we know that there are probably some, and just really kind of going over some of the nuts and bolts of what it's like living on campus and to be answering some of your questions, because at that point, right, so in 2 weeks, it'll be a couple weeks into the semester so far, and we'll be able to really, if there's issues and things that are coming up, we'll be able to help you answer those. So Tina's coming in 2 weeks, and she's tremendous. And I think that'll be a really helpful session for you all to hear. Again, regardless of kind of where your student lives on campus for those pieces. But that was another question that was answered. Next up, that ties in a little bit to this, these were all kind of pseudo connected, was emergency alerts. So nothing like starting off the semester, although I will with a good flash flood / tornado warning. Fun fact about this girl right here, I don't know if I've actually shared this with my new families yet this year, so maybe I didn't, but my undergraduate degree is in meteorology. So I am a weather girl by, I guess, degree, although it's been quite some time since I have had to put any of that into practice. But, these types of things come. So I was watching, I was watching the track of the tornado. I live in Yardley and had come, tried to come through my area first before it made its way into the greater Trenton area. So I was watching it for a bit, but the question came up, obviously these emergency alerts. So how are those communicated to the students? How does that work? So first things, if you aren't signed up for text alerts, I'm going to put in the chat the contact for our emergency management office. Well, it's not really an office, but it falls kind of within our campus police. And you can sign up for text alerts, right? That is the best way to get any emergency situation, whether or otherwise, directly to your phone. And there's a beautiful tab on there. It just says parents, sign up here. You can sign up to receive them. I receive them as a staff member. The students, and we always tell the students to do that as well, to plug, obviously plug the campus police phone number into your phone, but two, to make sure you sign up for text alerts. Now, hopefully and thankfully, most of the time, these are things like, hey, the black bear's back on campus, so make sure you're careful. That one that came through, I was like, oh my God, right? Sometimes it's or the poisonous algae, right? In Lake Siva, we have some algae that blooms sometimes in the lakes nearby that are poisonous, and then we basically say don't go into the water. Hopefully, knock on wood, it stays in those pieces. But if there was ever anything more serious, and obviously from a weather perspective, if there's an emergency, those alerts go through. The other thing is that we do, so for every text alert I get, I believe I also get an email. I don't know if that's true in all the cases, Suze. I don't remember if that's the case, but I know that for closures and stuff, if it's weather related, whether it be in the winter, whether it be in the spring and the summer with severe weather, that's an email, a campus email that goes out to everybody. And it's also posted immediately on the TCNJ Today website as well. So it'll have like a big alert that goes up that says, click here for more information on the website. They get an email, and then it also goes out usually via text as well. So those are kind of the three tools. It's a kind of a combination between campus police and the communications, marketing, and brand management office. Together, they make sure that information gets out to student, faculty, and staff as quickly as possible. But if you're not signed up for text alerts, that's a good one to do right now. Okay, so good question about there. Suze, I'm going to drop it over to you because we had a question about the Loop Bus, what it does, where students can find the schedule, if you want to take over from there.
Absolutely. So the Loop Bus is managed by our Student Finance Board. And Lindsay, maybe you can drop this in the chat. I don't think I can do the chat. It's literally studentfinanceboard.com. Yeah, they got that website. So, so that's where you can find the schedule for the Loop Bus. So I think it's typically just over the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. It will definitely say on that website, and goes to local places. And so they have the time of pickup and drop off. And just making sure they bring their student ID. I'm pretty sure that that's required. So making sure that they have that, and yeah, you'll be able to find all that information on there. So if anyone has any specific questions, you'll see where it picks up, drops off, and all of that. But definitely would recommend like first year students who don't have cars on campus to kind of take advantage of that resource, because they stop at a few really interesting, great places. I think Princeton, movie theater, things like that.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at the stops too. So obviously downtown Princeton is one. Nassau Park Boulevard and Mercer Mall and Market Fair, those three kind of, and the mall, the Quaker Bridge Mall is the mall, right? Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. But Nassau Park Boulevard is the one that you want to highlight if you want to get to Target. Target's the big one over there. I'm there all the time. There's like a Wegmans for some grocery shopping. There's also like a ShopRite in the Mercer Mall one. There's a couple of restaurants or places to grab food. There's a couple of like kind of general shopping stores, like a Home Goods, and what's other, Michael's is over there. What else? Like a Dick's Sporting Goods. So it's just like a regular kind of not a strip mall, but it's a kind of a huge complex. And the Mercer Mall and the Nassau Park Boulevard are literally across the street from each other on Route 1. So if your student wants to use the Loop bus on the weekends to get out there, those are kind of some really popular ones because there's a bunch of things that you can places you can hit up at once. Just making sure to remember that you've got to carry all that stuff back. The other nice thing about the Loop bus, so it's a really great option for students. We also have the 601. So New Jersey Transit has a bus. We have a New Jersey Transit stop on campus, and that could get you, I have no idea where that goes. I know it goes to like one of the train stations. I think Hamilton train station or Trenton train station is one of them. So if you're a student from a mass transit perspective needs to get home and wants to take New Jersey Transit, there is a bus that stops on campus for that. But I think that might go to some other local places as well. But the Loop bus is more convenient because it's just TCNJ students that are hopping on. Susie, did you have something you wanted to add? I thought you might have unmuted yourself.
No, I think that was it. And yeah, you can find the schedule right for the 601 online too, in terms of where those stops are. But that being right on campus is incredibly convenient.
It's great. I think the other thing too is that, your students hopefully are going to make friends with upper class students who have cars. So it's not totally necessary that the only time they can get out there is with the Loop bus, but it's a nice option for students that don't have cars on campus that may not know a lot of people who do, but want to get out and do some things. So just some options there. The Loop bus is free, right, Susie? Yeah.
Yep. Loop bus is free.
Yep. Free. Love that. Okay.
And specifically, if we're talking about the student activity fee, so when you see that fee, this is something that helps to cover that, as well as like student programming and all of that. But the Loop bus is covered by the student activity fee. So free.
So it's not really free because you're getting it with your student activity fee, but take advantage of it because your student activity fee is paid for. All right, next up, flu shots. Oh my gosh, yes, we're having clinics. I'm going to post here in the link, the website or in the chat, the website for the flu shots for this year. They just sent the email out to students last week. I added both the September and the October dates to my calendar because I'm not sure which day I'm going to be on campus for that. So yes, your student, if they're living on campus, now this is only residential students, although obviously we encourage everybody to get it, but the residential students have to get it, and they have to get it before December 1 and have it uploaded. So don't let that kind of get put in the back burner because there's a lot going on for your student right now, but just make sure they remember if they're living on campus, they need that flu shot. This is the most convenient way to get it because they're coming to you and they're on campus. They're hosting them for 3 dates, and I believe it is $10 for students. It's usually $20 for staff, faculty and staff, but the $10 is if you are using private insurance. So we had another question about does the student health services, accept private insurance? Yes, many of your students chose to stay on your insurance, so they will accept that. And in that scenario, the clinic is the flu clinic fee is $10 for the shot. If your student has the TCNJ student health insurance plan, they opted into that and did not stay on your insurance, the flu shot is free. So you can take a look at those dates, have a nice little conversation with your student, maybe at Family Day, right? Although there is one in September, so don't miss that. But maybe if your student hasn't gotten it by Parent Family Day yet and you're here, you can be like, okay, so when are you heading over there? I know that I will be as well. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind for there. And health services will send out probably a few reminders about that via email. So just make sure your student puts it on their their calendar. Hot off the presses. So somebody had a question about how to check meal swipes and the balance on the card. And I did not know the answer to this question. So I sent a group text message to my entire orientation leader staff. And I said, help. I sent it to this right before we got started here. I said, how do they do this? Because I didn't know. And one of them it was our student government executive vice president. Dylan got back to me. So apparently you can find it in pause. Did not know that was an answer. It says meal plan under account inquiry. Okay. So step 1, I didn't verify that yet. So I'm sure it's fine, but I just haven't gone in to tell you where to go and pause to find that. That could take you 10 minutes. And he also said that when you go to ICOF, which is our dining hall, it'll tell you once you swipe, you can ask the person who's doing the register how many remaining meals per week that you have. So those 2 options are great. So shout out to Dylan. Thanks a million for getting me that information so fast. The other thing is that if you do want to check, if your student wants to check the balance of the points, right? So the get it points, which are kind of these extra points that they can use if they want to go get a latte at the library, cafe, Starbucks, or, they're somewhere else on campus. They're in the C-store, which is the convenience store, and they want to pick up, I don't know, Pringles or whatever. That's what my kids were eating earlier today. The get it points, you can log on here. I'll give you the link for that. This is to kind of check the status. I just don't know if this also means that you can check the meals per week. So I don't know about the swipes per week, but this link, your student can log in and they would be able to see the balance of the get it points. So hopefully that helped answer the question for the parent who had that. And oh my gosh, that's it. We got to the end of the pre-done questions. So let me circle back and see if anybody else, I don't think we had any other questions that came in that we didn't answer, stuff about Parent and Family Day. So anybody else, I'll do this as a last call. I'm going to talk a little bit about the events to come, the caffeine chats to come. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to throw them into the chat now. But basically, as I mentioned, so we're going to do 4 now. This one's done. There's 3 more from here in 2 weeks. So September 26th, we're going to have Tina on. The focus is going to be more about kind of residential experience, roommate conflicts, professional staff, where to go to for support services, the types of things that the staff members do in the residence hall with the floors, and just kind of managing those expectations. Let me see what else we were going to talk about that day, right? That was it. Oh, and then yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So important. We're going to talk a little bit about care referrals. This is really, September is the time where we start to peak with homesickness, right? And just students that, are missing home and how to help with that, right? And to cope with that and some mechanisms to support your student in that piece. So we're going to talk a little bit about homesickness and care referrals, and talk a little bit about mental health services and those pieces, and really focusing more on group workshops, right? So they do a lot of group workshops, especially in these kind of first 6 to 8 weeks of the semester. I'm partnering with them for my 2 events, the 2 events that we're co-hosting together, but there's so many other things. Also, I should plug this very cool thing that they have started to do, and I think it's genius. It's called Let's Talk. I will find the flyer. I have to send out the flyer. I know they sent it to me. And it's basically like a 15-minute checkup, right? I would have loved that if I was a college student, just to be able to talk to somebody who has the degree, right? So some people come into my office, like my staff that know me, right? I act as a mentor of sorts, and then they kind of start to dump, and I'm like, ooh, this is good. I want to help you, but I'm not a licensed or a professional in the world of the mental health space. So they are setting up so that your student can literally set up a 15-minute appointment and just, what's top of mind, right? Is there something top of mind that's bothering you? How can, just kind of getting it off your chest, seeing if there's something a resource or somebody that they can connect you with in order to kind of provide that support. So the Let's Talk thing is coming out soon, if it didn't already, and I'll take a piece for that. And Susie, this probably ties into the press pause, right? Or
so
no?
Side note, I sent it. I don't know if only you see that chat, but I sent it to you. I believe you could drop it in the other chat, the link for Let's Talk. I'll do a real quick overview about Press Pause project. So this is a partnership with Student Affairs and Student Government, with collaborations across campus, and it's focused on really the main piece is talking about resilience and kind of the bouncing back from setbacks, really seeing setbacks, learning from them as opportunities for growth and things like that. but also kind of talking about this myth of the perfect student was kind of like how the person had come to it, come to us with about this. It's not the right phrasing, but but it's that's going to be a really big push this coming year, is really talking about resilience, and you know, especially with this past year and a half that we've had, and working with these students to really learn about kind of the fall down. What was it? Fall down 6, get up 7. So that's going to be kind of infused throughout the entire campus, both with, you know, student affairs side, but as well as the academic affairs. And we've just got some really great partners. So that's something definitely to look out for. There's the, Lindsay, if you can get this, it's at TCNJ Press Pause is their Instagram. But they'll be putting their stuff on this week at TCNJ too. So that's just going to be a variety of programs, and kind of pulling in the umbrella, pulling in all the other departments and kind of what they're doing, as well as student organizations.
And it's Press Pause, like PAWS.
Yeah. Play on pause lion TCNJ. So yes, Press Pause.
Cute. All right, thanks. And then the last, so then that kind of, so we're going to tackle those topics in September. The mid-October one, and let me just grab the date because I just had it up, is going to be Sunday, October 17th. And that one's going to be academic focused. We're not 100% sure what we're going to talk about yet, but October 17th, that is right after fall break. So fall break is the week before. Hopefully your students come home and say hello, and you can kind of chat and see what's going on there. But there's a lot that happens in October. We talk about things like in the past, right? So some topics that we were kind of brainstorming, and I don't know where we'll land, but a big one is just kind of, you know, reminding parents about the academic calendar and the mid-year progress reports, and just kind of checking in with your student, because around the 17th, we've kind of gotten through midterms, right? So that's kind of the end of the 2 or 3 weeks in October where we do midterms. And, you know, that's a really important point to kind of touch with your student. Like, how's it going? Are you struggling in certain classes? You know, a lot of times our students kind of feel like, okay, well, maybe they didn't want to seek out help with the Center for Student Success or seek out a tutor at the start of the semester because they thought they had a handle on it. And really, you know, they hit midterms and they're like, oh, crap, I don't have a handle on this at all, right? Having that conversation to empower them to be like, it's not too late. You don't have to, you know, don't continue to go down the rabbit hole of not doing well. Like, you can turn it around, right? It's not too late for you mid-semester, but how do we connect them with the people that they need to get connected with to kind of help turn things around if they are struggling in certain classes? You know, I don't know, like, you know, study abroad is going to do a big fair next week in terms of that pieces, but typically the study abroad application process takes place usually in October. So we're going to fine tune exactly what we're going to talk about, but it is going to have an academic focus for the one on the 17th. Do you want to add anything, Susie?
No, I was going to say not necessarily for the 17th one, but I can jump in for the November.
Yeah, go on ahead. Yep.
The first one. So that one, we're going to have someone from our mental health services, specifically Mark Forrest. He is our Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs over Health and Wellness, and also the Director of Counseling and Prevention Services, or CAPS. So he, every year he provides this really amazing article for our newsletter, and we thought that this is going to be a really great topic for us to focus on during this caffeine chat, and it's specifically about home for the holidays. So a lot of times there may be kind of a little bit of a tricky transition as students are coming back home for the holidays, and you know, he gives some really great information and resources kind of focusing on that topic, you know, both guidance for family members kind of navigating that, their students coming home, you know, just because things might look a little bit different. And so it's some key things to look out for and some guidance there. So I'm really excited to have Dr. Forrest there with us for that chat.
It's so funny because a couple years ago before the pandemic, I wanted to do, actually, no, I think it was the semester and I had to cancel it because of the pandemic, but I did one I was planning a panel for the seniors, and I was bringing back students who moved home, right? And it was so interesting because I wanted to do one for the current seniors at the time who knew they were moving home. And I wanted to have parents, like I wanted to have 2 or 3 parent and student combos to talk about what that's like. I moved home, right? And again, back then, I mean, you know, I'm aging myself now quite some time ago. That was less popular. Most of the time it was like, oh, your parents get, you know, you were done with college, see you later. You got to go fend for yourselves. I moved home. I I like my parents. I like hanging out with them. They live like a mile down the road now because I like them so much. But, that was like a really funny thing. But yeah, it's different, right? Like they've now spent all this time away, and not all the time, it's only a couple months, but so much for them has happened in those couple months that like, how do you navigate that, their independence coming back home and all those pieces? And it, Mark's amazing. And I know he's going to do a really good job on that one in November. So one more question came in, and then I think we'll wrap this up. And Sandy, I had to laugh. So she asked if we as parents automatically receive those mid-semester updates, those mid-year progress reports. And I'll very quickly provide some context. So it's a stoplight system, right? So it is either a green, a yellow, or a red. And all of the faculty members have to put in mid-semester how that student is doing. So they get a green light, they are good to go. Yep, you're doing well in the class. Keep doing you, right? The yellow one is a little, okay, you're doing all right, but there's some gaps. Like we think you probably should come in and talk to your advisor or talk to your faculty member, not advisor, your faculty member in that particular class to kind of see, how to make some tweaks for the end of the semester. And then you have the red one that's like, oh crap, we gotta figure out what's going on here, right? The red one would have been me, first year of college in my chemistry 112 class that I ended up failing first semester. That'll be another fun story for another day when we're talking about resilience. But all this to say, the answer to your question is no. So unless your student has given you access to view their electronic educational records, you don't get to see those. And that is a FERPA thing, the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. And that's it. Basically, your student decides whether or not you see their records, whether or not you see their bill, whether you can pay their bill. There's like 4 different items that they can check box to say, yes, my parent can see this, and this. The statistic that we always like to joke about, and it's not joking because it's true, but it's just like my favorite statistic, is that I think it's 99% of the students will check the box that allows their parent to pay the bill. But I think it's less than 3% of TCNJ students will have the students be allowed to see their records. So if they do that, you should be able to see it. And if they don't, that is a conversation for y'all to have at the dining room table to flesh out those details. It's always a really funny kind of thing, at orientation when we're talking and telling the new parents, and I'm talking about the new ones, right? So they don't have students that are, if this is your second or third kid going to school, you're very used to FERPA by now, but for the ones where it's the first, they're like, what? Because you're used to seeing that school report card come home. I know my 8-year-old, he just started 3rd grade, and I'm used to seeing that too. So anyway, but yeah, so, oh good, he's giving you access. Oh yay, you're in the good spot. Okay, well,
one of the 3%.
Good for you. I polled my staff once. They were working. I had like 6 of them in the room. They were working an event. This was years ago at orientation. I said, "How many of you?" And one out of the 6. And I was like, but yeah. So, and then obviously she was like, "Yeah, my parents aren't going to pay the bill unless they see it." So they work that out themselves. But more to come on that. So yeah. So some academic focus, some focus at the end with Mark. In the November one, and then really just email Susie. Right? You can email me too, but we really want to make these as helpful for you as possible, as beneficial for you. And we could talk about a lot of different stuff. These were the things that we thought of when we did this brainstorming, because we were like, okay, we know our students, we know kind of points where they will struggle, but your student could struggle at any point, right? Maybe they're academically struggling right now, but in mid-October, it's going to be a social thing, right? Versus, a lot of people kind of social issues now and homesickness and adjustment. Maybe it's academics a bit later. So it's not a perfect system. So we kind of take we kind of shoot between and try to get as many as we can. But please, if you have topics, if you have suggestions, if there's things that you want us to talk about, please email you. Again, I'll throw mine in there. It's Susie's. You can just email the essay at tcnj.edu. And me, I'm just student transitions at tcnj.edu. I should be cleaned up from over the summer. It got very hectic in that inbox in mid to late August, but we should be okay now. But otherwise, I think that was really it for us tonight. We try to stick close to an hour. So, Susie, anything else from you?
The only thing I'll add is we plan to do the same thing with registration, where we have you register for the caffeine chat, and we'll leave a box there as well to collect any kind of one-off questions that you may have, and so that we can address them during the caffeine chat, even if they're not necessarily the focus that we might be doing that day. But yeah, so feel free, feel free to email either Lindsay or I questions along the way. Certainly don't have to wait till the caffeine chat, but if something pops up, we can point you in the right direction.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
Oh,
Hope you found it
thank
helpful,
you.
and it's going to live on my, for now, it'll live on my
Yeah.
my YouTube channel. We'll see about changing that over. But for now, the nice part is that even if you can't make it with one of these upcoming ones, if you have plans or whatnot, the nice part about this StreamYard, well, the benefit, the negative is that we don't get to see you, right? And the interaction on our end isn't as fun. But the pro is that they live forever in infamy. So if you can't make it, you can always circle back. If you had somebody who couldn't make it and you were like, oh, they talked about this and it was really helpful or whatever, you can kind of point them to my YouTube page and it'll live there, along with all the other chats that I have done, over the years. So I think that is it. So thank you so much. It was good to, well, not see, but see all of you again. And Susie and I are really looking forward to continuing these, and come on out. And otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Same time, same place. So have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you all so much. Have a great night. And thanks so much, Lindsay.